What's up, guys? It's your boys Awoki back out with another of a Chris Watts video, and a lot of you guys have been sending me this video stating that I need to watch, react, and put my 2 cents in, and of course we're going to do that. And this channel is new for me, which is called Chelsea. I do apologize if I'm butchering that. Jay. She is fairly new. It looks like her channel is about a yearish old, but we're going to be watching her video, the Chris Watts Mistress, what we know, 2024 update. Chris was not alone, all that stuff. I know there's going to be people that are like, oh my gosh, this is, again, overdone. There's little bits and pieces. Plus, seeing a different person's perspective is always definitely welcome here on Channels of Wookie, and we want to see what she has to say. But before we go any further, if you guys could do me a solid favor and subscribe to the YouTube channel by hitting that wiper icon down the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it. So when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I posted that video. And then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you so very much for that love and support that you guys show on this channel every single day. I can't thank you guys enough. Keep doing what you guys are doing. We'll continue to keep growing. And then also go over to her channel, and links are in the description. Go give her some love, subscribe, comment, like, and share. This woman is almost to 30,000 subscribers. I would definitely love to help her out and get to that 30K goal. With that being said, let's see what she has to say.
Killer dad Chris Watts is now blaming his former mistress Nicole Kessinger for his decision to brutally murder his wife, unborn son, and 2 little girls.
But why is he coming forward now? Is he wanting to bring Nicole out into the light? Possibly now share in the wealth of being in prison? I shouldn't say wealth. I should say share in the experience of prison. Does he want her to contact him? Who knows? But let's continue.
And he only now refers to Nicole Kessinger as Jezebel. At 39 years old, Chris Watts is being held in a small cell at Dodge Correctional Institution, serving a life sentence. So please subscribe and let's talk, because this is all very new information about Chris Watts. Dylan Tallman, a fellow prisoner, befriended Chris Watts in prison, and the two allegedly became very close. At some point, Dylan crossed paths with Chris once they both ended up in the same prison, and allegedly they were both considering themselves twin spirits to one another, and decided that they were going to start a book series together called God's Plan.
Romance.
Once Dylan was released from prison, he then released 3 books by himself. Now, book number 1 had terrible ratings, so I didn't even waste my time. What it was about allegedly was Dylan.
I didn't watch them either, or I didn't buy them either. I just pretty much watched people do reviews on them and listen to their take on it. Wasn't buying these books.
And the Bible. Naturally, I was interested in the portion that involved Chris Watts. So I decided to read Dylan's 2 following releases, and that was completed. Today, I'm going to share what I've learned. Let's talk. It should be noted straight out the gate that this is all based off of Dylan Tallman's books. I obviously do not know Chris Watts or Dylan Tallman personally, so I'm just going off the public resources and sharing facts from the books of him and his experience and what he learned allegedly from Chris Watts in being his cellmate. So as we know, Shanann Watts was murdered at the hands of her husband, Chris Watts, in Colorado back in the year of 2018. He was having an affair with a woman named Nicole Kessinger. Shanann Watts was pregnant with their son, Nico, and their 2 daughters were also murdered at the hands of their father, Chris, and then they were dumped in oil tanks. And it was just, it hit the nation so very hard. But the people that obviously took it the hardest were Shanann's family. Now, for starters, Sandy Ruzek, who is Shanann's mother, was the one who requested that Chris not face the death penalty when he was convicted. So instead, Chris Watts took a plea deal admitting to murdering his entire family, and he will be spending the rest of his life in prison, as we know so far. Now, nobody likes a man that hurts women or children, so eventually Chris was moved out of the state of Colorado for his own safety. Dylan says that Chris was holding back information regarding mistress Nicole Kessinger's involvement in the murders of his family, and that is what he talks about in his series that he released. Dylan says the whole thing kind of started when he started asking Chris legal questions. why did you sign a plea agreement for maximum punishment? Chris told Dylan, well, I was told to. Otherwise, I was facing the death penalty out in Colorado. So Dylan had encouraged Chris to fight this legally, but Chris ended up telling Dylan that he feared doing so because if they retried him, then he could be going back to Colorado. And then there he would have to relive everything. And worse for him,
this makes sense.
People want him dead in Colorado for the crime he committed. Now, this is where Dylan reveals what Chris had to say.
She's really good with her videos. She should be higher up there in subscribers. If she watches this, you're doing a very good job. I like your video.
Of what really happened back in 2018 when it came to murdering his family. Chris Watts would tell Dylan, my wife Shanann came home. Allegedly, Cece was fussy and couldn't sleep, so upon entry to the home, it sounded like Shanann was said by Chris to end up heavily medicating Cece. But also upon arriving home, Shanann was aware that Chris had been having an affair. So Chris tells Dylan that Shanann got angry enough that she attacked him while having access to a knife, and that Chris had to self-defend. He said that he didn't mean to strangle her to death. He said it was an accident. Afterward, he
did you trip and fall on her neck like this? Like, are you kidding me?
Declared that he called Nicole Kessinger his Jezebel and confided in her about what he had just done, and that Nicole had promised that she would help hide the crime to protect Chris. Right away, according to Chris, telling this to Dylan, Nicole was said to have instructed Chris to hide Shanann's body. The book then chimes in a little bit about Dylan and the times that Chris remained calm and seemingly full of faith in prison and, you know, all the fights and the punishments and just the darker territory of criminals that you're surrounded by when you're in prison. He kind of highlights Chris to stand out as a very peaceful man of the Lord. Dylan's words. Then he continued regarding the dynamic of Shanann.
I honestly think they need to do a third interview, like a third final, put the nail in the coffin on him, because they had the one where he confessed in Colorado. Then they had the other interview with Chris when they went to Waupun, Wisconsin, and they should do a third interview, which to see if he might say anything. But man, it's getting a little hot in here with all this stuff that she's saying right now. It makes a lot of sense.
And Chris Watts. Look, I can't remember a lot. I didn't intend to kill my wife. It wasn't my goal as everyone thinks. Yeah, we fought over money and small things, but we loved each other. I used to be a pushover with no backbone. I never meant my
I'm sorry,
wife.
but I don't believe
she
a word of
attacked
this.
me. He paused, and I asked, what do you think made her attack you? Chris said, she found out about the mistress and she tracked my spending. I don't know if she was more mad about the money or the
They had a joint account. Like, you're going to tell me that she was tracking you? Like, you didn't try to hide it. You literally spent money that would be equivalent of 2 people, and she put 2 and 2 together. She's a smart woman, and you're going to be like, oh, she was mean, she was nasty, she's coming after me sideways, so I had to defend myself. But I tripped and fell, and I decided to choke her anyways. Like, it's the reason why my voice sounds so stupid right there is because what his explanation and his belief of what happened is completely dumb.
Fair. However, she was upset. She was going to kill me. My older daughter.
I could see Chris calling Nicole in a rage of being scared, or not like a rage, but being scared and be like, I just murdered them. I don't know what I'm going to do. And she's like, well, do this and this and you will get rid of them. That could be a possibility as well. Just throwing it out there.
Daughter woke up and then she was asking about her mom. I told her to get her sister and that mommy was in a dark sleep. We needed to go get her some help. Like I was telling you last time, bro, I was numb. I was on autopilot. I just lost the love of my life, my wife. I was so in love with Nicole at the time. I knew about being in love with 2 women at the same time. You can only choose one. Why didn't you call the police? You called your mistress, bro.
Exactly.
You might not even be here if you had done that. I didn't know what to do. I'd never been in trouble, he said. Somebody had to have helped you because you wouldn't have known what to do to your own family,
Exactly.
I told him. He said, look, it's hard to explain. I went to work at the normal time. The neighbor's camera saw this. I confessed already. So what good is it going to do? He pointed out. You remember how I told you about Jezebel being evil?
Yes.
I do, I answered. Was he trying to tell me that his mistress told him to kill his wife and kids? I thought about this while waiting for him to continue. Speak clearly to me, brother. This is not an interview, I told him. My older daughter was trying to wake up her sister. She was sleeping deeply from the medicine her mom gave her. She was having trouble staying asleep the night before. I decided I would leave my wife's body at home. Chris had a slight sob catch in his throat. I heard his voice start to crack. I left her in a sheet, and I was going to check in with Nicole because we had plans to meet up before work. I was going to skip work and spend the day with her until all of this. I left with my girls, and I assured my older daughter that her mom was fine. I lied to her. My younger daughter was sleeping. I had my girls with me, and their mother was home dead. I thought of Nicole, and I thought perhaps we could start over somewhere in North Carolina still.
Man.
Y'all were gonna move to North Carolina?
Oh.
I interrupted him. He said I was pondering on it, but losing my wife, it made me feel doomed.
Man, I really
Especially
want to pick his
thought of
brain.
losing my mistress too. So I met up with her where we were supposed to rendezvous on my way to work. Nicole was calm about the whole situation. She told me to just go to work like I was supposed to, and she asked me about the girls. We talked it over for a while, and we decided we could make it look like they went missing. Things blew up in the media. The pressure unfolded fast.
Technically, that's still an accessory to murder because you help clean it up verbally. You help plan to put them where they're supposed to be. So that's still a felony right there.
Fast. What about your wife's body? I questioned. She said she would take care of it. He sighed. I really didn't want any of this. One sin caused another one, and one after that, and so forth. The snowball effect, I said. That's exactly what it was, he agreed. So these conversations that he's having with Chris Watts is never just in one sitting, hence why it was made into a series. It drags on between, the current events at the time, within prison, and different days. So in another instance, they play basketball and sit together again for more confessions of things that happened. I knocked on the wall and called Chris to the electrical outlet on the wall from the cell next door. I have to know, and I will not judge. Did you kill the girls? Yes or no? He went silent. The silence was thick in the air. It was a deafening silence. I should have cast myself in the grave that was dug for them, he said. I decided to ask him the same question, but from a different angle. Did you have help with the girls? He took a long, deep breath and seemed to hold it. Yes, I did, he admitted to me. Jezebel, I asked. Yes, Chris answered. So Dylan says that this whole thing left him feeling really confused, basically believing that Chris didn't belong in prison alone, and that Nicole Kessinger should be also held accountable.
Yes.
Chris expressed to Dylan that he loved his children immensely, and the book gets into it in great detail, which I do agree that being a parent is wonderful. But I don't have the heart to place Chris's words here to define what being a parent and loving your children looks like. It wouldn't be right. Yeah. So moving along, Chris addresses signing the big house over to Shanann's family, kind of what was holding him back, and at the time when he did that, because he owed them a lot of money. I was on the phone with some lawyers about signing my house over again, he said. He was being asked to sign the house over to the victim's family. I kept him from signing it over at the time because there could have been evidence yet to help his case. If he could hold off and get that private investigator or even someone else to sweep the house, it may have been helpful. He needed new facts, new circumstances, and then he could possibly get out in 20 years instead of never. What did you tell them? I asked. Well, the last time I told them I didn't have an envelope to send them the signed agreement. This time, I just told them that I didn't want to. Chris was getting more of a spine. I'm impressed. This is good news. All we have to do is find you a lawyer and a private investigator, I told him. I know, but I have to give it to her family. It's the least I can do. He sighed. I'm not saying keep the house, but I'm saying hold off on signing away your life. There could be some kind of evidence in there that could help your situation, I conveyed. Yeah, I need a lawyer. I won't sign it until I can figure out what I'm doing, he decided. And then, according to Dylan, Chris then gets into Shanann's Thrive business. How much money do you think you and your wife made per year? I asked. Her and I together? We made well over $100,000, he said. What did she do? I asked. She was pretty successful at selling Thrive. She was the breadwinner of us all. What exactly did you do for work? I asked.
So for those people that hate on Shanann and stuff like that, she's the breadwinner in the family.
I basically was the guy with the clipboard supervising, he informed me. Then Chris goes over the responsibilities of having been in a marriage with Shanann and what those responsibilities appeared like for his marriage and being a father to his children. I had a lot of responsibilities with them in regards to his children, he said. It sounds like you were doing too much work and taking care of the kids, I said to Chris. When I came home from work, I would make food for them, play with them, bathe them, read them a bedtime story, and put them to bed. I did a lot with them some days, he expounded. He truly sounded like the perfect father.
I do that all the time. I'm not going to murder my family.
Perfect husband. What did she do? I questioned. Well, she was really busy with her job and everything it required. Some days she would do a lot with them too, he told me. And of course, there's no denying that Chris Watts' family were beautiful, precious, and deserving. So naturally, Dylan wanted to know more about Nicole. Like, why then would Chris Watts get involved with Nicole Kessinger? I started working out and brought my weight down to like 168 pounds. Women were noticing me, and I met Nicole. She was just everything my wife wasn't like me. She was just nice and not a control freak. We could make decisions together. We knew each other for a while, but we didn't start messing around until 6 weeks before. Yeah, I was not thinking. We worked together. We had chemistry.
They knew each other for a while, but then that kind of puts that conclusion to bed to show that they knew each other a lot longer than 6 weeks.
I fell into temptation, he told me. I personally find it interesting that so far in this book, Dylan, to my knowledge, never mentioned anything about Chris elaborating on the bankruptcy that he and Shanann were going through at the time. And if you were able to watch my previous case coverage on this, I mentioned from a very public resource and agreement that this all, still in my opinion, began when this couple filed bankruptcy the first time. Chris was beginning to feel all those things that this book is reminding us of, like the control from Shanann, the failure of being a man and signing for that, the burning out stages of marriage, just a lot more than what Dylan reveals here that was going on in the marriage, in my opinion. Revisiting Nicole's alleged involvement, Chris revealed more about this. Get it off your chest, brother, I said, allowing him to tell me more of his story. Nicole kept saying not to go to the police, not yet, and to lay low. She told me she would marry me. We would sell everything and move. I told her that my older daughter saw enough to incriminate us or incriminate me. I told her that my wife's body was still in the house. She held me tight, told me not to worry. She said she would send somebody to get it and bring it to work, like nothing happened. She held me and told me that it would just be the two of us. She kissed me and made me feel like I couldn't lose her. I would do anything for her. This is what I meant when I told you that she made me choose between my family or her. The girls were what was left of my family, so I chose her, he confessed. So who killed the girls? I asked. I told you that it wasn't my hand doing it. I can't remember a lot. It was like I was possessed. I saw myself doing it, but it was like it wasn't me. Though I was numb and on autopilot, I couldn't hurt them, so I just stopped them from breathing. She helped you with your wife's body, I questioned. I really don't want to take anyone down with me. I did it. She captivated me with her smooth words, dripping honey, and Proverbs 5:3-5. She sold me a dream and brought me a nightmare. She only helped me with the order to kill. As far as hiding them, she helped me. You need to start guarding your heart because that is way overboard. What did she do when you got arrested? I asked Chris. She pretended to be clueless, he said with a sigh. Where is she now? She don't give an F about you. As soon as you got caught up, she bailed. Where is she now? I pushed for an answer. Nobody has heard from her or of her, he said flatly. She's in hiding in case she ends up incriminated in this mess, I informed him. All he managed to say was yeah. Some side facts here also include how Armchair Detective allegedly wanted to help Chris. And if you know anything about the things that this man did to Shanann's family, you would crawl in a hole and hide for him, because he had no shame. I did a live on this matter and it's still up. It's like the only live video that's still public if you'd like to check that out. And I was celebrating the day that they took his channel down. Dylan also spoke of Chris not wanting media attention nor giving much attention to fighting for the truth of the matter. Insinuated many times that he wanted to help Chris appeal. But Chris seemed like all he wanted to do was spend his life, wherever that may be, getting close to Jesus. Dylan also expressed the kind of letters that Chris Watts was receiving, which was both hate and love notes at the same time. Women throwing themselves at Chris and some people just merely wanting to see him die. Even though Chris would say time and time again that he wants to appeal his conviction, it seems like Dylan didn't really sense that Chris was going to move on it. A lot of you guys have said that you did or you do think that Nicole Kessinger was involved. I think that authorities dropped the ball and that she's a free woman now in our society. Is Chris going to eventually turn on his pastime lover, Nicole Kessinger?
Like I've said before, I feel that he's going to crack 100%. It's going to take time. I'm not saying days, months. It's going to take years, unfortunately. I just have this sense of something's coming, something's brewing. But like I said before, it's going to take months, possibly years for this to go through.
If she was truly involved, like he told Dylan, I know that families typically know more than what the public knows about a case regarding crime. I was actually told that for myself by a victim's family member. We had a phone call, and the case is actually a really big case. It's something that I covered here. It was a big deal. But this family member and we talked, and she told me that sometimes true crime channels can be offensive because YouTube channels go off very public information, and the family are the ones who know more about the cases than anyone. So sometimes on YouTube, it gets twisted. It becomes a cesspool of the court of public opinion, and it becomes, story time to make some money. And it's very hurtful to these families. But the way that I see it, if you're willing to run a channel and you're willing to do honest work on a case, it can actually be a good thing as well, because you don't let the case become...
I've seen a lot of cases, or there's been some cases that have been solved because of YouTube and people that have looked into crime and true crime and so forth like that. So it can be a hindrance, but in the right hands, it can be a true blessing in the better of hands.
Just another case. You bring light and honor to victims and their families, and lessons about terrible...
And I am not letting Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico and their legacy and their honor die by being tainted by people's words that they just want to spread rumors when, again, all the evidence that points to Chris and Nicole, not Shanann, Bella. Like, there's no reason to do it for Bella or Celeste, because there are people that are actually blaming the kids because they were too much of a handle, really. But then blaming Shanann when all she was trying to do was have a family, a loving family of kids, and grow old and have grandkids. That's all she wanted. And to make others' lives better with Thrive and being with Lavelle. And I can see it in all her social media posts and so forth. So that's why I do my best to defend Shanann and the kids. And I go after Nicole because I know that she was involved. I just have a hard, concrete feeling that she was involved. And that's why I do these videos, is because of NK. I want her brought to justice.
Terrible crimes for other families in this world to learn from. I am honestly so thankful to honor families that have gone through something like this, because sometimes they just can't talk about it, either legally or emotionally. So what Shanann's family has come out to say, from my understanding, is that they do not want Shanann's name used in a bad way. They don't want to be harassed. And they have said on Dr. Phil, last thing that I know of regarding Nicole Kessinger's involvement, that they did not think that she was involved past any mental grooming on Chris Watts at the time. They did not admit to thinking that she helped in any way. However, then you look at her footage and the different lies and the alleged pinging of the cell phone and, you know, how quick she was to go meet with authorities right away. What's really important to me to address is that I will forever support Shanann's family first and foremost. And I think that some of this information from Chris Watts or Dylan himself is fabricated in this book on Chris's behalf, things that he was saying. I don't think that Shanann, pregnant, went at Chris with a weapon or a knife.
Never.
I just don't see that. Do I think that there was a potential spiritual spell or some kind of dark hypnotism he could have been under? For sure. So here's an actual post from Sandy Ruzek, which is a credible source on her daughter, Shanann. She never spoke ugly of anyone. She never cursed. She never did drugs of any kind. She never lied or stole from anyone. She was never arrested. She never had DSS called on her. She never cheated on her husband. Everything on the internet is a lie, made up to get views and money from you to help spread hate. My family was taught to respect others. We don't judge. It's not our place.
Agreed.
Only God can judge his children. She was a great mother, a wonderful wife to the wrong person. I am so sick of the bashing on my family. When you stand before God, remember, you can't lie. Try getting out of that one. The Lifetime movie was all lies. They never knew my daughter. Netflix was the truth. We wanted the world to see what the Antichrist took off this earth. One of the things that I loved about Shanann was the things that people hold above her and judge her for the most. It was how driven she was as a mother and as a wife. I loved her ability to keep things tidy and organized. And I loved that she had a routine. And no matter what people say in reference to disagreeing with that, Chris was the one that was wrong through and through. It was not and should never have been Shanann's responsibility to get him to communicate his feelings on his marriage and feeling controlled. And we still have yet to see Chris Watts take full responsibility. I understand that he's frustrated and he sees it now as he declares he's getting closer to God, like, oh, she was a dark spirit. Like, you think? Tell us something we don't know. But just like with John Paul Miller, you can't know the Lord fully without taking responsibility in what his calling is for you to do in your life. Chris Watts was to be the leader of his home and honored by his wife. So if he felt at any point in time in his marriage dishonored, it was to be communicated as the leader of that home, not to cheat on her, lie to her, murder her and her children,
annihilate her,
and continue to blame spirits. So what do you guys think? Is Chris Watts going to get this backbone and be able to prove somehow what he told Dylan? Is that even true? If it's true, what parts are true? Is he still covering a little bit for Nick?
We can find out this truth if they just talk to Nicole Kessinger like they're supposed to in an investigation, not shoot the breeze, not be on her side, lie detector test, like give us 2 hours. We'll have the answers that everybody in the world would want, and this case would finally be closed and go quiet. I guarantee it. I'm willing to bet my whole YouTube channel life on it that if that's what they did, this case would be completely silent. It would be done.
Nicole, or is that something that you think really happened? Do you honestly believe that Shanann was capable of doing something to Chris where he would have to do what he did in self-defense? No. What do you think about the fact that Dylan would come out with a book? I could see where it could be some justice in bringing somebody out there in the world to be held accountable. A lot of people feel that's what needs to happen with Nicole Kessinger. So in a way, I could see the silver lining in reading this series. But in another way, I'm not sure. I mean, was this guy Dylan capitalizing on a big name for a worldwide crime? Let me know your thoughts. And thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Love on your family. Go hug your kids. Respect your wives. honor your husbands. I'm Chelsea J. Be blessed.
Chelsea. Man, I like her channel. I'm going to have to look at her other stuff on her channel. I'm definitely going to subscribe. Hold on. Subscribed. So make sure you guys go over to her channel, give her some love, subscribe, comment, like, and share. I definitely enjoyed her, what we know of the 2024 update and the books from Dylan Talman and so forth like that. So if you guys could do me that solid favor, go over to this lady, subscribe, get her up to that 30K goal or 30K mark. Let me know down in the comments. Do you believe that what Chris says? Is this all true? None of it's true? Half of it's true? But the reason why I do these videos continuously is, one, I've asked you guys if you guys want me to continue, which you guys have said, yes, please continue. I do this as well for the justice of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico, and to protect Shanann's legacy that she had left with Lavelle and Thrive, and to make smiles, bring people joy and better lives and so forth like that. And I'm not going to let other people hate on her and stuff like that. I think it's wrong. Even she's gone and she can't defend herself. She has to have a voice. And I'm one of those channels that will help protect as much as I can. Again, thank you guys for watching. Please take care. Be safe. Don't forget to subscribe on both channels. Hit the like button, because the like button helps out more than you guys know. And we'll see you guys in the next video. So please take care. Be safe. And as always, keep nerding on, and we'll see you guys in the next one.